So fun thing, I actually had to tone down the sound of the introduction because the click. There was a few guys who work in like, we're recording by the way. There was a few guys who were working like factories and stuff, listening to Hobby Nightmares, and the click at the start of my videos where it says subscribe and all that, it just deafened them. They were just like, oh. Anyway, thanks for joining us, folks. I am sitting here. I'm not sitting in the same place, but I'm here with E-Man G. I was really, really late today, so I beg his apologies because I was recording something else and I was hosting, so I couldn't really get away and do all of this stuff. But anyway, here we are. We're going to be discussing the time when E-Man G was unfortunately in legal proceedings with Games Workshop. Now, I will do a brief overview of what I believe to have happened, and then we can get into it. You can correct me at any point, E-Man, if you want to do so. But E-Man was taken through a legal process by Games Workshop, where he was sued for essentially 3D printing models with STL files that were taken from a video game that Games Workshop owned the rights to. It was a very stressful situation at the time for him, and I was very grateful that he gave me his perspective back then. But nowadays, I just wanted to touch some grass with him, connect again, and see where he is now and what he's learned along the way. Because I think in the rising tide of 3D printing these days, it'd be a very interesting video to do. So thank you for coming on, man. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me.
It's all right, dude. It's all right. So, first thing I want to be touching on is, well, what was the aim of using the files that got you into hot water? So, am I right in saying that you took the files from, was it Warhammer Total War, was it?
There, at this point, 3 Total Warhammer games, was started there.
Okay.
It has to do with, well, that goes into the modding scene, because, well, how do you think any of these games even have mods for them? It all comes down to the actual way the engine works. There's a model type that's proprietary that CA uses. It's called RMV2. I won't get into the details, but basically that's where it all began with those games.
Okay, so you originally saw these models and thought, okay, this is a good idea. I can 3D print these. These are 3D printable, right?
Not initially, because if you look at, now, I mean, people have said this before. We've talked about this as well, but if you look at the models from the game itself, and this is the case for almost all game assets in pretty much any game in the modern day, they're all very low poly, very angular. You can't really use them for 3D printing. They're too... well, they're also going to be mostly non-manifold objects because game assets aren't really designed to be 3D printed. So you need to do a lot of work to actually get them to work. So it's not just copy-paste, end of story. Anyone who thinks that, they have a lot of work ahead of them.
So almost what we're saying is, do you know when people say in copyright on YouTube you can use something if it's transformative, if you've changed it, to be marketable? Would you say that you thought when you were starting the process of 3D printing these things and then selling them on, and that you were thinking, okay, well, I've done the work to take these from the video game, make them into a usable STL file, and then selling them onwards? Would that be fair?
The only thing was the selling aspect. I mean, I put them all out for free myself.
Okay.
I deliberately avoided putting anything behind a paywall as far as like the models themselves were concerned, because, well, I figured that that would be the immediate point of no return, where,
of course, yeah,
well, it would raise legal issues. Now that goes into the issue of the Patreon, where I was doing the midpoint of the middle point of adding pre-supports to them, which is optional. People who want it, who don't want to go through that hassle. If I printed it already and it already works, then you can obviously print it that way. But supporting is something that all 3D prints have to have, because you can't print on open air, laws of physics.
So with your Patreon, am I right in suggesting that it wasn't a case of, hey, you need to get to this tier and then I'll give you these STL files? It was literally, the STL files that I got from Warhammer are free, but if you want...
Go to Cult and get them, yeah.
Yeah, but if you want... So the files you can use yourself, but if you want me to provide these structures for them that you need to print them, then those will be on the Patreon. Is that what we're talking about?
It is like that, but the need is I would say it's a strong word because it is, at the end of the day, optional, because supporting is something that every person who 3D prints needs to learn how to do.
Of course, yeah.
So it's just like, okay, I can save you like 4 hours of stress and potentially reprinting it if I just do it for you because I've already done it. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does, yes. So you're providing a service. Again, complete layman here, E-Man. Like, I'm not really a big 3D printing guy, so if I ask these questions, I know it's like asking you, what's air made of? But, we are where we are. So, what was the aim of using the files that got you in hot water then? What was the end goal of this process? When you first started to say, hey, man, I can do this, like, what was the end goal? Was it monetary, or was it just getting these cool things out there to people? Or both?
When it first started, now, to give you an idea of like how long I've been in this, I don't want to say it's a game, mind you, but no pun intended. But it was close to about 8 years ago when I actually jumped into the 3D printing space as a whole, because before then I'd made everything by hand, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But the thing about the digital space, is that it basically opens up this whole avenue that I never could do just with my hands alone. If I could do things digitally and it's easily replicatable, like replication is the name of the game when it comes to 3D printing. The fact that it can be done consecutively and accurately, repeatedly, is what makes it so valuable. And also, digital sculpting is a lot more precise,
Of course,
than doing everything by hand.
Yeah.
So when that happened, and I was in uni, obviously I had. This was back. Now remember, Total Warhammer came out in 2015, right? It was revealed, I think, in 2014, I believe.
Yeah.
I could be wrong on my dates.
Around about then, yeah.
But it was at that time that I'd actually even gotten interested in the hobby, because like when CA announced they were making Total Warhammer, I was like, wait, Warhammer, isn't that the Space Marine game? And like I knew nothing about Warhammer at all, and that's when I actually started reading the damn novels to get my understanding of it, because I wanted to know what the hell CA was making. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I like what you're saying. Yeah, so I completely get what you're saying. So the end goal was to get it out in front of people and to make some pocket money on the side from it, but to try and do it in a legal way.
Not initially, no.
Okay.
I was, I worked a minimum wage. This was just my hobby. I didn't really do it to make money. No, I put out everything for free at this time, and even after the Patreon started, I still did put out every model for free if people wanted to download and print them. It's just the main motivation, if you can believe it, was after playing the Total Warhammer games for as many hours as I did, I preferred most of the unit designs in the game over their tabletop counterparts.
You're not alone there. Yeah,
like it's mainly like the photorealistic design choices for a lot of them, and then the true scale proportions. I really like those over the more stylized large heads and arms of the heroic proportions, I think is what they're called.
Yeah.
I much preferred those. And that's where the motivation even began. Is like, yeah, these look nicer. Is there a way I could actually make these into a physical object? That's where the whole thing began.
Okay. So, how did you first become aware that you were in trouble here? Like, what was that process like? What was that? Was it a letter that you got? Was it a phone call, an email? Like, when did this start? From your contact with Games Workshop or their lawyers? When did that start?
So, if we want to go with the timeline, we'd have to go back to 2023. So that would have been about, I think either it was June or June or July, I believe. It started with a C&D, right?
Cease and desist, yeah.
Yes. This was from an actual law firm, one in New York City. So, big, scary law firm, as you know.
Send in the legal
team.
Yeah.
Now, they'd already gone with the cookie-cutter approach once before, but that was like, you know what those are, right? The ones that is like, oh, you are infringing on GW's, copyrights, generic. It was like one of those boilerplate emails.
Oh, emails, okay.
Yeah, but that one is like a lot of people get those, but that was a couple of years ago. That was well before this. I don't even know if they knew who I was at the time. So, but this was a cease and desist from an actual law firm. Now, I talked to friends and family about it. Even spoke to one of those free consultations. You know what those are, right? Where they will what you want to ask
legal advice,
without charging you.
Yeah.
Probably in hindsight shouldn't have gone with that because, well, I'm not going to say who it is because I don't want to cause any more problems. But basically, the recommendation was ignore it,
Yes.
which was not good
Mm-hmm.
for me in the long run because
Mm-hmm.
it cost a lot more money. Although I don't know, even if I complied with what they wanted, I'm not sure what they would have asked for after the fact. But then a month later, that was when I got a notice of legal proceedings. That was in August, I believe.
Right.
This was directly with the U.S. Copyright Office in D.C.
So this is what I was trying to get to. So you've already answered the question, kind of. But what I was going to try and ask was, like, say for me, and don't do this, Games Workshop. I'm watching you. But if I got like a letter or an email saying you're doing this, please don't do this because you're infringing on our copyright, I'd respond to them, say, where am I? I'll take it down. Where is it? You know what I mean? Or is this? I would assume for me it's mistaken because but if I was doing something like you, where I'm doing these 3D printing things, I would immediately have been like, ho, that is, I do not want to get involved with this lot. I will stop this immediately. Do you know what I mean? So I think a lot of people, when they judged you without knowing you, were like, well, this guy had all these warnings. Like, why didn't he heed any of them? You fuck around, find out kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Whereas, like, what you've explained there is that you did take it seriously and you did go to get legal advice, and your legal advice was, it's fine. People get these all the time. Just carry on. You know what I mean? I'll be honest with you, you're a lot braver than I am, because even if I went to a legal person, they told me that, I'd be like, yeah, but it's not your money, dude, so I'm not going to bother. Especially if I knew,
Well, I figured,
maybe I might be in a bit of hot water,
I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
I was going to say that, and this is a perspective I've definitely gained, but with all the, I don't want to call it internet drama because I don't like internet drama, but basically
Sure.
a lot of the accusations is that especially when I talk with other people who also do 3D modeling in the same vein that I do, 3D modeling for 3D printing, and I know a lot of artists that do it. Which, by the way, if anyone's curious, nobody sold me out. I wasn't like betrayed by some other person who did 40K, but nothing like that happened. So don't come up with any conspiracy theories that like, oh, somebody sold E-Man-G out to the big man. No, nothing like that happened. So,
Dude,
in case that was a
Reddit
worry.
is a thing. Reddit is a thing. It's going to happen either way.
Yeah, but none of the artists that I know did anything like that. Same with the guy who owns Cult. There's two guys who owns Cults. Pierre's the owner primarily. Good guy. It wasn't him either. Nothing to do with him. Like if anybody makes assumptions that it was any party that like sold E-Man-G out to GW, no, nothing like that.
Okay.
But what was I going with this? Basically the idea is, when it comes to a legal proceeding like this. Yes, I want to exercise caution. You are right about that. But at the same time, I was under the impression that, like, I am what one would call a small fish in a big pond. So I figured, like, oh, I'm too tiny for people to, like, keep track of everything that I do at all times, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean I want to be careless. But at the same time, I figured, well, how much is this company worth? Go to the Nasdaq value. Oh, $4 billion. Do they really need to bother with me? But I digress.
Yeah, I mean, I think from Games Workshop's point of view, at least when I was there, the prevailing sentiment was, if we don't protect our IP, it goes, right? Especially in the US.
That's true.
If you don't vigorously protect your IP, it doesn't exist. Everyone can use it. It's open source. So, and it's similar in the UK as well, which is why they're so litigious on these things. I think they were very heavy-handed. I think they were, but I'll get into that a bit later on. So you get the filing of a court order or your legal proceedings. What is your next step? Do you then go to get your own lawyers? And what happens then?
So this was a first for me because, well,
Of course, yeah.
surprise, surprise. I'd never done anything illegal like this in my entire life. I never had to have a lawyer for anything. This was a first for me. Not even so much as a speeding ticket. Nothing. So this was a first. Legal proceedings were with a division in the U.S. Copyright Office called the Copyright Claims Board, which was only newly introduced, I think. It was introduced in 2022, so it was brand new. I didn't even know it existed at the time, but it was brand new. Apparently, it's a way of filing copyright claims without going directly through a court, like through federal court, which can cost upwards of like $40,000 up front.
Yeah, you're also taking up
works in the
resources,
US.
aren't you? Yeah, resources from the government doing that, which I guess makes sense.
Yes. So they made this like civil version of it that you can have where, in a nutshell, you are able to file claims at a much lower cost to yourself from the perspective of the claimant. That's what the CCB is for.
Okay.
It's to settle claims small scale. The problem was how many claims GW had put forward. I think it was 12. 11, and then one of them had 2 items in it, so technically 12. Remember, though, the email I sent you, it could go. My lawyer said it was close to like $360,000 with
Yes.
$500,000 if I was found guilty. That's not a joke. That's not me making up numbers. That is what my attorney told me. I was very scared.
I've seen you. Yeah, when you sent it over, didn't you? Yeah, that is seeing those numbers on a piece of paper would be your arse falls out sort of a moment.
And I never made that. I haven't even made that kind of money in my life. Like, sure I have. Sure I have my career. I have my degree and my job, but I think I've never reached that kind of income in life before. So that was like you were right when you said like nobody has that kind of money. Who does? You were absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing I was seeing getting thrown around is that you were somehow making like bank off of this. That's why they hammered you so much. And I was like, dude, you don't understand how these people work. Like, nobody at Games Workshop,
Yeah, that was something.
like looked at that and said, hey, let's
sorry.
get E-Man G for 500k. That they've just given the lawyers like these are our points that we don't like. Sort that out, and the lawyers have gone, okay, we'll get everything that we can. It's their job. Do you know what I mean? They don't care how much you don't have. You know.
That was something that my attorney. Well, this is all through mediation, like through third parties. So this is what my attorney heard from their attorney. It's like, well, they don't hate the attorney. Doesn't. I don't even entirely blame the lawyer of the claimant for this because he's just doing his job.
Yeah.
But obviously, because never done this before, she was telling me, I was like, no, there's no like bad blood here where he hates your guts. It's just he has to do everything that the claimant GW is asking him to. So these are all the things he's asking for.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I mean. Would you say in the proceedings that they treated you fairly? Because so far, it seems to me like the bureaucracy is like really...
the bureaucracy was the worst part.
Yeah. So the whole machinery is the thing that really put you under pressure and nearly ruined your life. Games Workshop just wanted you to stop doing this. Not to give you like a slap on the wrist, it sounds like to me. But like, how do you feel?
I don't know if I treated like a slap on the wrist considering how much it cost, but
Yeah.
I know people have made meme of like, oh, the process is the punishment. I don't know how true that is in practice, but it definitely feels like the process is the punishment.
Yeah, well, that was my next question actually. It was getting into the weeds of it. Like, how did it make you feel? How much pressure were you under at this time when you see those zeros and you think, okay, well, holy shit, like, this isn't just my business. This is my house. This is my car. You know, that 500 grand's a lot of money, especially if you found guilty. Like, how were you feeling at this point?
And like, my car isn't even worth that much. Like, I drive a Camry. It's not worth more than 20K. No. Toyota's good cars, by the way. Buy those. Very good cars. Very reliable.
Don't sue us. Yeah.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
But the thing that my lawyer told me that was, well, even she would have agreed with you. She said that the amount of money they're asking for up front in terms of damages is so high that she didn't view it as them being serious. She thought that they were just trying to put the number as high as possible to force an agreement.
Yes, that's a better way of doing it than what I was saying.
Which is something like, again, that's one of the most expensive answers you can give. My attorney's telling me that, yeah, it's probably more than likely to. And this is her field of expertise, you know, copyright, trademark, and intellectual property. That was the lawyer I went for.
Well,
that was her area.
You did well. You did well. I mean, so how were you? Was she good at like assuaging your fears somewhat, or were you ever under the impression of, oh no, like I am really under the cosh here? Like, we're not going to get into specific numbers, but you know, how much pressure were you under yourself during these proceedings?
Oh, I was under quite a lot. I don't want to say that, like, I know people may. I don't want to make too many assumptions, but I know some might say like, "Oh, E-Man's trying to scapegoat and blame his feelings on the big company just to make people feel bad for him." But I'll say my behavior was my own. My behavior was worsening. I was really acting out, taking it out on other people because I didn't have anywhere else to go.
Yeah,
I know that sounds bad, but it's the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I'll
actually like my behavior just worsened. It was really bad because I was just like. Well, I didn't have. Well, there was a point where I was out of money and I just didn't have anything to pay it, and I had to start e-begging. If you remember what happened,
I do.
I don't want to call it. I don't want to treat what happened with Do you remember I spoke to what's his name, Craig over on Side Scrollers?
I was literally about to bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want. I'm not gonna treat what he did as like eBay because like I appreciate that more than anything. Him and Arch wanting to hear what I had to say. That was nice of them, and I couldn't be happier. But I did, at the back of my mind, feel like it was e-begging because, in my view, you shouldn't e-beg unless you absolutely need it. It took a lot of convincing from my friends for me to even be okay with that.
I mean, it did come through in the end, I suppose, which is good. Yeah, I love side scrolls, and you didn't mention Blabs there, by the way. She'll be very upset. You mentioned Arch and Craig. Yeah, but like they did well by you on that episode.
Blabs is a nice person too. Yeah, she's nice.
Yeah, so like, and that's how I got a wind of your story. Actually, I think that was before you even contacted me. I saw that first. And like, and then you in my inbox. Here he is. So like,
well, that was the thing. You were one of the few people who made videos about the situation where you didn't immediately just say, "Oh, this guy needs to be taken to the cleaners," and that was the thing. I know people might think I have a conflict of interest, but because you're one of the few people I saw that were willing to hear out what I had to say and didn't immediately assume malicious intent, that's why I sent the email to you. I hope that wasn't out of line.
No. Did you have any? You don't have to, but do you know any of the content creators who did do that? Because I wasn't. The only part I know about this is from you, and because I had it from the horse's mouth, I didn't look anywhere else. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not really sure who else was talking about it. You don't have to.
Well, I don't want to start any drama, so
no, you don't have
no
to.
big content creators. Just in general, there were a lot of whether it be Reddit posts, which I hate Reddit. I think it's a cesspool, one of the worst place. Again, your statement, don't use Reddit. It's full of freaks. Very true. And then of course there was several videos made on the fact that it's like, oh my god, this guy, he lied about everything and he's just trying to swindle people out of their money. It's just I don't like those kind of statements from people, but you were one of the few who didn't just immediately assume that, so that's why.
I don't think people get the pressure and the ridiculous feeling of being judged by people you don't know, and that because you and I are small enough, if people tell lies about us, that could actually damage us. If you're like a major kill, or you're like a Lewitin, or even an Arch, right? You're kind of Teflon. Nothing can touch you now. Unless you're accused of something really heinous. Do you know what I mean? Nothing can touch you. Because you're big enough that you've got your backers, they're all there, they're not going away, they'll fight your corner. But people like us, man, I'm telling you now, this is why people don't get the pressures of being in the public eye. Because we're small enough to be kicked, and it hurts.
That's another thing that definitely I learned my lesson there with after the case was finally dismissed with prejudice, mind you. That was much later. I had to go to. I know this is going to sound very personal, but after the case was over, I had to go to therapy afterwards.
Of course,
because it was really bad. I know. I don't want to turn this into like a feel bad for me session, but I needed it because it was really bad. I was acting very out of line, and I definitely needed the assistance because it took a toll on me. It wasn't the main reason. It was a escalating multitude of reasons, if that makes sense. But that was definitely one of them. There was a lot of pressure. And of course, after the fact, the thing I came to understand was ultimately, well, I'm not going to act careless, like I mentioned before. I shouldn't take the internet super seriously, right? I just don't treat everything like oh, I made a spelling mistake, my life is over. You know what I mean? Don't do stuff like that.
No, I learned that. Yeah, I'm still. I'm still.
I learned it the hard. I learned it the hard way. Granted, after a lot of money and a lot of ridicule, but
Yep.
But I'm better for it.
It's like even worse for you as well because like, whereas I've got like a community who will back me up and I can get loads of emails, people saying, hey, it's all good and all that. Like you're literally on your own. Like you're not a content creator. I mean, you're well, you are, but you know what I mean. That's not your main thing. So you are literally isolated and people laying the boot in saying, get this guy. And by the way, if you're the kind of person who ever defends a multi-$100 million company going after some dude, go fuck yourself. Like, you don't know anything about, especially if you're making these proclamations not based on any evidence, because clearly you weren't, right? We've named no names, but you know who you are. Go sit on a dick somewhere, all right? And get in the sea. That's my takeaway from that. So, do you feel like any ill will towards Games Workshop for how you were treated, or do you think they had their reasons?
I know this may sound like a non-committal answer, but
Mhm.
it's a bit of A and a bit of B,
Yeah.
like a bit of both. Because on the one hand, especially after everything I've understood about the absolute hellscape that is copyright, trademark, and intellectual property, because believe me, it is. Oh man, it is so complicated. Just listening to my attorney talk to me about, it's a rabbit hole you don't want to go down unless you have a lot of time on your hands. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I was like, for instance, like trademarks. Like I found out trademarks are something that never expire. They're something that are enforced for branding's purposes, whereas copyrights are something. But copyrights is something that takes anywhere between 70 to 90 years to expire. So basically, it's almost a century, basically forever.
Yeah.
Does that follow?
Yeah. No, I
And you have
follow.
intellectual property, which is its own can of worms,
Mhm.
which just goes further and further down into like obscurity. The thing that I learned ultimately is that the reason why these companies are so protective, and that's why I view GW as in a very similar vein to Nintendo. They are very protective of their IP.
Mm-hmm. Well, as we said
Not
before, they kind of have
necessarily
to
to
be,
the
don't
same
they?
degree, but
Yeah.
they have to be. I mean, from Nintendo's perspective, I know I'm sorry if I'm going off topic, but from the perspective of Nintendo, the reason why they've even gotten to the place they are now is because their branding is so recognizable. So they keep a very tight leash on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
guessing GW wants that same success, so that's why they're doing what they're doing.
I guess, in terms of we can link this back to what we said before. It seems like
Hmm.
the machinery of what their only recourse was to do this Games Workshop. Do you know what I mean? They didn't really have much else. I mean, if you're not, as you said, even before, in your own admitting, like you got some advice that wasn't very good, and so you ignored their
Hmm.
warnings. So if you ignore their warnings, then this is the only really recourse they've got left. And if they have to use this machinery, it's kind of like you're a small nail and they've got this large iron mallet. It's just like
Sledgehammer.
bang. Yeah, like, and that's all they can do. And they're not even the ones with the mallet. It's the legal guys. They're the ones with the mallet. And these are the laws we have, and they're really, really harsh. And here it is, and I suspect that if we actually ever got to speak to Games Workshop about this, a lot of them would say, no, well, actually, we just wanted this to stop. We don't want to beggar anybody. We don't want to drive people to therapy. That's not what we want. We just wanted this to stop. And and I'll be honest with you, I'll be surprised if people think Games Workshop are this like evil, like get this guy in particular, that kind of stuff. I would be honest. I'm not saying this in like a dickish way. I would be very surprised if 99% of the people at Games Workshop even knew who you were. I'll be honest. It'll
Probably
be
don't.
it'll be one guy who's made a decision and hasn't thought about the consequences of it because he lives in the UK. Why would he? Right? He goes, yeah, we need to get this guy to stop doing that. Please send the legal team over. Let's sort this out because he's ignored our warnings. Anyway, moving on to our next part of business. And that'll be it. That'll be the only time you're mentioned. That kind of a thing. And here we are. But the thing is, any action by such a large company creates massive ripples for small fish like us. Do you know what I mean? So if
Yeah,
they,
man. I did I even got like emails from people I didn't even know, just saying like, "Hey, I heard you were sued. Can you give me some legal advice?" Like, I'm not a lawyer. Why are you emailing me?
yeah, I mean, it's crazy. But again, I don't think for 1 second Games Workshop is full of evil people, and I've always been on that. I'll die on that hill. It's not, but big corporations are very unwieldy. They're like big drunk, giants who just stomp around and aren't really sure what's going on. And I
I
think
think
this is the
GW's
case.
point of it. Sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
go on, man. Yeah, it's your video. Go
I
on.
think GW's position is, and this may sound like a weird analogy, but get me out here. GW's position is being the biggest elephant in the room, or the biggest gorilla in the room, to use an animal analogy. Like, because they are the top dog, the biggest fish,
Yeah.
they basically want to keep that position. So anything that threatens them, they will eye it with caution, right? And if they act aggressive, it's just in their nature to do so, I suppose.
Yeah, and they're safeguarding their bit, aren't they? So I like that answer. Yeah, a little bit for column A, a little bit for column B. I'm guessing
The
you.
column B is just that.
Yeah.
Well, I did want to answer that. The column B of like dislike is just because of how long the proceedings took and how much they cost. Because do you know how much a intellectual property lawyer costs on retainer
No,
per hour?
go and tell us.
$275 per hour
Jesus.
billable. and that's with 5,000 up front. And my attorney told me if it went to federal court, which it possibly could if I didn't go with the proceedings in the CCB, that's 40 grand up front just to start. That's a down payment on a car or a house. It's a lot of money.
Jesus.
There's a reason why this shit is so expensive.
There's that. What was that?
There's a reason why most people don't do it.
There was that Richard Pryor joke. He was like, "Yeah, my lawyer came to my party, my house, and he was going to keep me out of jail because I've been a bad guy. I'd shot my own car. I'll get into that later on, but I shot my own car. Anyway, he comes over and he hands me a bill for $75,000. I was like, motherfucker, I just met you. It's like...
Like, there's a reason why we have this same problem. Like, I don't envy them because it's something that should be only worried about by these really big companies with armies of lawyers to watch. It's why the AI problem we have right now, where people are looking to the legality of whether AI generated things are even, like, you can even own them. That is a rabbit hole that should be solved by these people that are paid way more than you and me, because it is so complicated.
It's like, you
know what I mean?
What else did he say? They said, these motherfuckers will keep you out of jail and out of a lot of courts, but it's going to cost a lot. It's just like, yeah. But they do their jobs. I mean, she did right by you, and she cost her a lot of money, but, you know, like...
No, but she did good. Like, she was, when I say, like, people were telling me, like, there were some people definitely who were covering the situation, like, whether it be commenters or such, that caught on this. Like, if you want to survive, you need a good lawyer, and she was a good lawyer. She was really good at her job.
Good lawyers are worth their weight in gold, man.
She ended up getting GW to back down with what they were asking for, and that I would comply with their demands, and I did comply with every demand they gave me, and there were a lot of them. I'm
thinking, like, when they get a lot of big companies like this, when they get a lawyer coming back at them who is actually competent, and I'm saying, no, do you realize how this looks? Like, okay, we will comply to everything, all that, back off. That is when, I think, that is when the bureaucracy actually looks at you and goes, oh yes, yeah, no problem, and backs off. Do you know what I mean? That kind of a thing. So, but the problem is, as we just said, Games Workshop can afford to, they look at it as like a tiny little ripple, but to a guy like you, that's like a lot of money. Do you know what I'm saying? From the
perspective of a company their size, it's like, I don't know
nothing.
if legal proceedings fall under this, but it's like a tax write-off.
It's nothing.
Tiny.
Yeah, it's nothing. You know, but they don't see it that way. They're not looking out for you. They're looking out for their own shit. And you know, whilst I do think Games Workshop, in my opinion, like looking at your whatever everything you've sent me, and I've gone over all the emails and everything, I think they did the only thing they could do, but also them being such a massive company, them doing the only thing they could do also meant that you were really out of pocket and you were put through a lot of shit that you didn't need to be put through. I think the main issue here was the original advice you got to just carry on. That's the issue. Do you know what I mean? Because any lawyer worth their salt would look at Games Workshop, and if they've got a case, they'll say, yeah, Eman G, cut that shit out this second. They stop.
Yeah, that was the thing that was the thing that I was told by a lot of the artists I knew who have been through email chains like this. They were like, as soon as they found out what was going on, I was like, no, just do everything your lawyer tells you for the love of God.
Yeah. You
know, when the proceedings actually started, that was what they told me.
Okay. So, the nasty bit of the video is over, because now I want some opinions from you, not rather than on what we're going to be talking about. So, how long do you think it will be before Games Workshop is actually undercut legally undercut by 3D printing in a way they can't touch? And you know what I mean by that, right? People offering actual alternatives that sell really well. Do you think they're panicking over 3D printing, or are they not really bothered?
I've been in this this hobby for a while. Like, I've been doing 3D printing for a very long time. I've done the both FDM and resin. I own one of each, like machines. I've looked at this technology evolve. It keeps getting better and better, right? And there's actually competition in this field, the 3D printing field. Like, we actually have all these different manufacturers like Prusa and Bamboo Labs and Elegoo and Anycubic, and these are all companies that make 3D printers that keep trying to one-up each other. So there actually is innovation in this field, right? You follow?
Yeah.
As they keep getting better, it's going to become more accessible. At the moment, 3D printing is a niche because a lot of people just want the convenience of, buying a kit, right? It's like, okay, I just want the kit. I don't want to deal with 3D printing, whether it be resin or FDM. You've heard that before, right?
Yeah, I've heard it before.
But as this has continued to grow, GW, I don't think they're taking it that seriously. I think they just view it as like an afterthought, personally. I don't think they see it as a threat, but I'll cite something you said a couple months ago in a video you made. It's like, if I was a shareholder and I asked GW, what are you guys going to do about this? And it's like, oh, don't worry, it's not an issue. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to withdraw all my money now.
Yes.
Because you should take it seriously. It is something that will come to bite you eventually. Maybe it'll take 20 years, maybe it'll take 30, but it's going to happen.
There needs to be a plan. That's the thing. If I, again, as you just said, if I was a shareholder there and they said, yeah, we don't have a plan, it's not going to be a threat to us, I'm like, dude, are you high?
You mental?
Are you high? Like, have you seen, like, my uncle does investing, right? Like, it's one of his, he's retired now, but he invests a lot. And he says, yeah, most of the things he invests in now are 3D printing. It's just exploding. Like, he's making so much money just buying and selling 3D printing shares in 3D printing companies, and everybody wants a piece. And
that's another good thing about the 3D printing space. Again, the fact that there's actual competition in it, so innovation actually happens. It's not just monopolized.
We've seen the same thing with graphics cards, right? You know, when you have two people at the top who don't really compete with each other, everything stagnates. The power of GPU should be growing exponentially, but the jump between the 40 series and the 50 series is negligible. It's not worth the price. It's nowhere near worth the price. You know,
I mean, I have a 40 series. I saw the 50 series. It's like, yeah, well, one, I can't afford it right now, but two is like, yeah, I'm going to wait till the next gen.
Yeah, wait till the 6 series. And even then, you might even look at that and go, yeah, because what games really need it? You know, if you're not sitting in 4K VR, like what game needs it?
Then again, the reason I have a 4090 in my system is primarily because of the work I do. I mean, it does play games really well, but that's not really what I use the 24 gigs of VRAM for. I use it for renders and 3D modeling. So, different story there, but I get what you mean.
Tax.
Like, nobody needs. I keep telling people, like, you do not need a Titan or a 90 series card for games. Like, anyone who tells you that, it's like, no.
No,
don't do that.
Are you projecting it onto a wall with a 4K projector? No, then shut the fuck up and get yourself a 40.
Do you have an 8K TV made by only one company in the entire world? No, then stop.
I mean, one of the biggest dudes is worth a buy right now in the UK in terms of reviewing games. He has a 20 series. He said, "Yeah, this is my reviewing computer. This is what I use because I want it to run well on old hardware. If it doesn't run on old hardware, it's not very well made. The 20 series should be more than enough to run most games at normal on 1080p, which is how he plays." It's like, yeah,
like a 2080 is like, well, that was the 20 series in general. There was a lot of hiccups there. That was when RT was introduced, but then you went to the 30 series, and there was a big jump. I would say, but the 2080 should run you well for at least a couple of more years. It's still a good card. And then the 3070 and 3080 also, they both have RT capabilities. Very good cards as well. They should still be.
Yeah, my missus has a 30,
more than capable.
A 3080 in her machine, on my old machine I gave to her. But in terms of what we're saying is, you know, competition breeds ingenuity and pushes things. And I guess when we get
we even got Intel jumping into the GPU space now. Like, I never thought that would happen in my lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, we get that, and we get like Games Workshop. You know, don't really have any competition. I just spent all morning removing mold lines from my Space Marines. Why am I doing that in 2025 when I've just bought these models from a nearly $1 billion company? Who knows? But they've got no competition. Why should they care? You
don't view companies like well, I don't know if BattleTech's really a company, but you don't view games like BattleTech as competition in any way?
No, because Games Workshop don't even fathom them into their projections and things like that on who's going to take market share. The Games Workshop market share in wargaming is so vast. Like you'll have guys like Disney just chuckling, going, "Hey, we're not that bad, Jesus." Like it's literally like upwards of 90, 96, 97% market share in wargaming.
We're talking like Google mobile search results.
Yes,
shares.
they couldn't give less of a shit about BattleTech or Bolt Action or whatever. No one's taking market share away from them. The only thing that can take market share away from Games Workshop is themselves by ignoring 3D printing and saying, we're not going to give you good service, we're not going to give you good product, and you'll pay us more money and like it. Sorry, no, the free market doesn't work that way. Even look at the Premier League in the UK. In the UK, you need to subscribe to 3 or 4 really expensive services to watch, like, not even all the Premier League games, a selection of them, and people are just pirating it. Go, no, I'm not doing that. I'll pirate it. right? And they're losing billions, and they're panicking because you can only push people so far until they go, do you know what? You're not offering value for money, so I'm going to go pirate it. And do you know what always happens? The main companies go, do you know what? Okay, we'll do a Spotify. You know, like music, they went, we'll do Spotify. We'll give you good value, lower the price, and there you are. And then they make all the money because everyone goes, oh, that's really reasonable. Yeah, I'll get that. Right? Netflix back in the day. Well, I had this vast trove, no more piracy because we've got all the movies here, and you can get them for £6 a month. Brilliant. They made so much money because everybody got on, and then they upped the prices again, and now piracy's coming back because greed, right? The minute they get greedy, piracy comes
ads,
back.
all these streaming services, even the premium, they don't have ads.
Exactly. So now piracy comes back again. Piracy is the great reset. It's the one. We can't go on strike from the things we like, really, but it's the one recourse the open market has to go, do you know what? Fuck you. You've gone too far. I'm not paying for it anymore. Which is why I changed my opinion on recasts. I'm like, yeah, don't tell anyone you're doing them. You know, try not to do it. Try and get stuff from your local store if it's a small store. It's not Games Workshop. But, like, if you're left with no other recourse, if you're in, like, Mongolia or Russia or Ukraine or Australia, where they're no longer providing you a service that's worth paying for, fucking pirate that shit. I don't care. Because like, they're not...
those poor Australian import prices.
Yeah, they're not providing you a service anymore, right? And especially if you're in Russia and Games Workshop, because they try and virtue signal, they say, well, we're not selling there anymore. It's like, well, yeah, but...
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We'll just wait till the war is over.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'd say fuck you. I'll source my own. Thank you. All right, China's right next door. Right, I'll go and source my own. You know, piracy is the great reset, and again, it's going into what we're talking about, but it's great stuff.
The thing with piracy is that, like, as a whole, this is something. It's a quote from Gabe Newell. I think you've heard it before. He said that piracy is a service problem. And I agree with him.
It is.
It is.
It is. Yeah. It's solvable. It's if you do what Netflix did, you do what Netflix did. WWE did it back in the day. People were pirating all of their DVDs. They made the WWE network. Now for $10 a month, you get everything. Everything. All right, it's now gone because they're now on Netflix. But everybody got it in the network. They made so much fucking money because it was like, yes, you're now providing us a service. Thank you. You know, Xbox Game Pass. All these games.
That's another one I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
Game Pass is Microsoft. Like, when they first introduced it, and then they bundled it with Xbox Live. This is like such a good deal. I don't use it myself because, well, I'm not an Xbox guy. I don't know a Series X, but it is such a good deal. The amount of games you get, and like for how much it costs a month, like it's like for people that have Xbox Live, it's like so valuable because of how many games you get.
Like
it's a good idea.
I've got it on PC, Xbox Live, Xbox Game Pass, and I've been playing Doom: The Dark Ages for £9 this month. You know, I played through Stalker all the way. I played through Oblivion, Atomfall, all these games that I didn't have to pay full price for. I played through all the way. It's value for money, man. But if you give people a choice that is value for money, they'll pay for it. They'll get their wallet out. Because you're providing value. If you don't provide value, the market will respond, and you're the bad guy, right? The pirates are also the bad guys, by the way, because quite a lot of the time they're like, doing other illegal things that are really not good. But the people choosing to pirate things aren't the bad guys.
Like there's this well, to give you an example, there's this one guy, I don't know if you know him. There's this guy, he's on Twitter. He calls himself Space Shark Chudham. Such a stupid name. He just has this huge like cloud drive with like 4 terabytes of STL files in it that he openly advertises, and people pay him money to keep it up. It's like, dude, that is not gonna last. What are you doing?
No.
Why are you even openly advertising that? What the fuck are you doing?
No, and if you're saying that,
that is not gonna last.
Yeah, if Imanji's saying that, stop what you're doing immediately. Like,
well, no, he still takes money to fucking pay for the cloud storage costs just to keep that thing up. It's like, yeah, it's concerning. Now, granted, just from the name alone, I'm wondering if he's probably taking the piss, but I digress.
So
I don't know.
Circling back, that's a really good segue. What was the outcome of the proceedings then? And stick to what you can legally say, of course, but how did this all end? We're in the nice part of the video now. How did it all end?
So we're going into the dismissal of the case.
Yes.
Which that's the saving grace of it. It was dismissed with prejudice. So thankfully, this issue will not be raised again, assuming... Well, I comply with all the demands, so it won't be raised again. right? But the case was dismissed by the tribunal with prejudice, and the claims were dropped. Now, granted, it was after so much money had been paid to my attorneys, which I'm still paying for today, because it's a lot of money, right? It's like monthly. It's like I have to pay it in small increments, but you get the idea, right? It's almost out, but I digress. And of course, this was after I had taken like so many like requests, like, oh, we need to know everything about your life. We need to know all your finances. We need to know all of your assets. We need to see inside all your bank accounts. They asked for all these things, which I provided because my attorney told me to. But you can imagine, like, they just wanted to be very thorough. So after all of this was over and done with, and they realized, wait, he's not loaded. Okay, well, we'll settle then.
Yeah. Okay.
That's essentially the outcome of it. And thankfully, the case is now out of my life, so don't have to worry about it anymore.
So,
and it was a civil case, not a federal one, so I don't have to worry about it being like a felony.
No. So in terms of you don't have to go into it, but people are going to wonder how you are, like, financially. Are you okay? Are you doing well? Are you mentally? Are you okay?
Mentally, I am okay. Again, the therapy really helped. I needed it, but financially, it's a struggle. I haven't really been able to. Well, I mean, I try to be very careful with my money, so
Of course.
I don't spend. I try and avoid spending wherever I can, and thankfully, my parents especially very helpful. God bless them. But yes, just it'll recover. I think with my current job and what I'm doing. So it's financially, it's not the end of the world, but it effectively is like a paycheck to paycheck thing because a lot of it just goes towards paying off the debt. The majority of it, actually. So I try to avoid spending wherever I can.
Of course. Do you have?
I know it's not the best answer, but it's not like I'm homeless. It's nothing like that.
No. So you can see light at the end of the tunnel where this will be paid, and you'll be able to build a life for yourself again, which is what we want, really.
Although I already went through that with my student loans, so didn't think I'd be having it twice. So.
So what's next for you, man? So, and what warnings or advice can you give to those who may be thinking of straying a little too close to the legal grey areas in 3D printing things for profit? Like, what's next for you?
So do you want me to answer those separately? Or,
sure, go separately. Yeah, why
what's
not?
next for me is as for what's next for me. I mean, I've learned a lot of in terms of in the field of 3D modeling, especially for 3D printing. It's my area of expertise. I don't know if you've seen, I put out a lot of not only developmental videos, but also even images, just what I'm working on. Made a lot of things. Make all assets independently. That's the first step. Just avoid the problem of like potential legal issues. Just make all your assets independently, which of course I'm doing. Learned obviously rigging and animating. That's necessary. There is overlap between animation and 3D modeling because posing is necessary too. And of course I've as far as intellectual property is concerned, this is gonna sound really defeatist, but I just avoid anything that Games Workshop even has a hand in. Like, just avoid their IP entirely, because not out of any malicious intent. It's more just, like it's not worth the hassle. I would avoid it.
Yeah, no,
That's how I
you're
feel
right.
about it anyway.
You're right. I mean, when we're talking this way, we're not talking like I can't do dragons anymore because Games Workshop have dragons. You mean like
nothing like that.
Anything that looks like a space marine? No, go away. We're doing. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
That's the thing I've noticed with a lot of people who like want to say, "Oh, I'm going to make my own setting with blackjack and hookers." Is like it's just discount 40K, like 40K with the serial numbers filed off.
Yeah,
I feel like that's not a good approach either, because I don't think there's ever been an IP that's like a ripoff of another IP that's done better than its predecessor. I'm not sure, like in that scale. There probably is, and I could be eating my own words here, but I don't know if I can think of one where that's actually happened. I feel like if you do that, it's not going to really go anywhere.
Well, that's the one thing that Trench Crusade is doing right, in that they're doing something 40K-ish, but making it their own thing. It's not my kind of thing, but I see they're doing it the right way. Is what we're doing there.
They are being careful. Yes.
So on being careful, what kind of warnings can you give to people who may be wanting to do the same thing? I mean, I know you mentioned a guy before. You're like, hey, dude, please stop doing that. Yeah, what would you say to that?
And he's not even a modeler. He's just putting up things in a drive. But
yeah,
to people who do this, like, all I'd say is, like, and I know a lot of artists who also do things that are either for 40K, Fantasy, Age of Sigmar, whatever you want to say, the old world. The only thing is, like, even if it is legally distinct, I'm using air quotes there. You can't see me, but legally distinct. Even if it is, that doesn't mean that they can't still like try and use that just to shut you down, because they will.
Yeah. Always
like
err
there
on
is
the side of caution.
because even if you are 100% in the right, you are not worth billions. It's gonna cost you, so just be careful doing that.
Yep.
It's but as long as you err on the side of like making all your assets independently, then you should be fine. But again, it's a matter of like avoiding the IP when you know that it can cause more trouble than it's worth. That's what I think.
Yeah, precisely right. Like they are. Again, we're not saying don't do whatever you want to do, but just remember, Games Workshop don't know you as a person, and if they make a little slap in the water, that's going to rock your boat and turn it straight over. You know, they're like you're like a mouse on a. They're sitting on a couch, and you're a mouse sitting next to them. If they decide to roll over, they don't even feel you.
Or cockroach, even smaller.
Yeah, they just crush you. They don't even feel you. Well,
the thing is with I'll cite something that you said earlier, like a couple, like back when the incident first happened. You mentioned that, like you said, I was making stuff based on Helldivers, and yes, I did, and I still do. Those are independently made, yes, but ultimately it's up to Sony. I did exercise caution. Here's the thing: I asked the community manager of Arrowhead, the actual company. I was like, "Is this okay? What I'm doing? These are all free. I just made them because I like playing the game." And they're like, "Oh yeah, this is fine. We love this kind of stuff." And then they just give me some conditions, don't monetize it, don't do any of these things. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I mean, if Sony wanted to, they could just come down and say, no, you need to remove this. And I'd be like, well, I don't have a choice, but that's just life. You have to, the intellectual property owner, it's up to them.
Yeah.
That's the biggest hurdle with these kind of things when you make these types of fan arts. The big company's always going to win at the end of the day.
It's caution and respect, isn't it? And I think you're approaching it the right way. Like, if I was a company being approached like that, you'd say, yes, no problem. Absolutely no problem. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be one of those things.
There's another thing I want to mention is that I have posted a lot of pictures of them, but I am working on. I know you probably heard this from a million people, so apologies in advance. But I am working on my own game and intellectual property at the moment. I'm calling it MBG. I made a lot of assets for it already, so that's what I'm currently. That's like basically my dream there. Not to like make something that's a copy of GW. Like, it's completely separate from anything in GW's overlaps. It takes place in the 19th century, stuff like that.
Okay, I like it. Do you have any art for it or anything like that?
I did quite a bit, actually, yes.
Yeah,
send a lot of renders.
Send some over. I'll
right now?
Yeah. I mean, if you send me a few links, I can throw them into the description.
Oh, I'm not taking any donations or anything. I don't need it for that. I just do this in my spare time, but it is a work in progress, and I post progress pics of it every chance that I get. So, like, for instance, let me see here. This is something I just finished rendering recently. Hold on one second.
Yeah, no worries.
So these are, like, again, took a lot of time to get this because I never thought I could do people, but these are one of the infantry units. These are the Landwehr militia.
Oh, cool! I remember you. Yeah, these are cool. Yeah, I like these. These are pretty awesome.
They came out really nice.
I'll stick them on. I'll stick them on so people can see what I'm looking at. These are pretty cool, man. I mean, are you?
Yeah, again, this is all This was all like made. That's my specialty again. All designed with the intention of 3D printing. And this is just one of the 2 starter factions that I have in mind. The other one being like, an army of extraterrestrial bugs, but I won't get into that.
I know a lot of Napoleonic Wars people. Little Wars, if you're watching this, they'll be creaming their pants right now.
Oh yes, I'm a big Kaiser boo myself. So yeah, love the Prussians, great guys. Love my spiky boys in blue.
Yeah, these Napoleonic Wars. Yeah, the E-Man G's got you sorted. This is all pretty cool.
Yes. Granted, what they're fighting is like very asymmetrical because again, they're fighting an army of extraterrestrial bugs. So
of course.
It's not going to be what you're thinking. I mean, that's the thing you may think that is a bit odd about it. It's like, oh, they're fighting in lines, but they're fighting against the bugs from Starship Troopers because that's how this all started. It's like, that was how my idea for this even began. It's like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if the Royal Prussian Army from the 19th century fought the bugs from Starship Troopers? As stupid as that sounds, that's where this all started.
That's where the best ideas come from, man. Wouldn't it be cool if... That's where the best ideas come from. The best settings. Wouldn't it be cool if... And you go on from there. Then you have, okay, where do they live? Who do they fight? Where do they, that kind of thing. Yeah, man, I love this kind of thing. Awesome. Well, that's good. You see, you're on your way. You're doing other things, and it's good to have you on, man. It's been really fun. been excellent to touch base and get you back on the channel and see how things are going. So thank you very much for turning up and for just telling everybody your story.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right,
by the way, these some warrior bug samples here.
Oh,
you want to see what they look like?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, I posted them. There you are.
Ooh.
They load.
Oh, wow.
Went through a lot of design iterations before I got to this one because, well, the first 3 didn't look very good, but this one looks just right.
I think it's kind of like the Starship Trooper bugs, but if they were more like dinosaur-like, with all chitting armor and things, you know, like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. That's the whole idea. Well, they're not meant to be like one, because if you look at the arachnid warrior bugs in the movie, for instance, like they're very different. They're much larger than these, and they're close to 700 pounds. They're 2.5 meters tall, and they only have 4 legs. They're quadrupeds. These are hexapeds, and of course, their heads are actually separate from their thorax. They don't, and their mandibles aren't as large. But these ones, yes, they are very much meant to fight, and the I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I apologize.
No, dude, I love it. Carry on.
It's hard to talk about when it comes to the IP I want to make. It's just these their entire species, because there's not just these ones. They have a whole slew of different castes that do different tasks, all the way from the lowly worker bugs all the way to the giant tank bug, which is the size of a bus. But their species use social structures based around termites. Termites are fun. Well, I mean, they're not fun to deal with, but if you look into like how they actually live, did you know that they actually know how to farm? Like they farm their own food. Yeah, they build this thing in their nest called a fungus comb, and then they just grow the fungus inside because it needs a damp, dark space to grow. So they just grow it in there with their own fertilizer, and then they can supply their own food. It's very surprising. Never knew that. Yeah.
These are cool, man. I like the passion. I'd stay. We need to like do this. You do this. Absolutely, this sounds brilliant.
No, I'm very committed to this. Like I've done a lot of work with world building and asking around, doing a lot of historical research, making all their weapons, all their uniforms, and of course then all the fictional aspects of it. But again, I really do care about this. I'm really dedicated. It's like the thing with GW did not deter me from wanting to make something of my own.
And neither should it. And you know what? Games Workshop, I'm telling you now, will have the same attitude. Don't stop doing what you're doing. If you talk to me at Games Workshop, they'll be going, no, dude, do what you... That's awesome. Like, do it. Brain, make your own thing. Just don't make our thing. That's exactly. Like, I firmly believe they're not evil, man. And this is why I approach this with I try and approach it with a level head. It's like, well, no, they're not evil. They're just, There's GW.
But well, when I made these guys, these bugs, people were. I had the very sneaking suspicion that I'm gonna get more than one. At least there's a non-zero chance I will get an answer of, "Oh my God, are these proxies for Tyranids?"
Oh God. By the way, you're allowed to do that.
You are, but I mean, they're not even the same size, so.
No. But still.
Each his own. I mean, most Tyranids are bipedal, if you've seen them. Most of the Tyranids are bipedal anyway, so.
Right, yeah. Well, we'll call it there, man, because I'm gonna have to go and get my kid in a minute.
I do apologize for extending this. Yeah,
dude, don't apologize. It was an awesome game, and I really like the sound of it. So yeah, stay in touch, and we will get this up on the channel if you get more stuff going. All right.
I do appreciate it, man.
All right, stay on the call, and we're gonna stop the recording. So we'll see you later, guys. E-Man G, do you have a YouTube channel I want to put in the description somewhere?
Oh yes, my channel is here.
Alrighty, I'll put it in the description. It's down below. So go and check him out. All right, see you later, guys. Have a good one.